So by having others trying to take me back to where I was unhappy, it doesn't serve me any purpose. So I decided to just not go back there. And I'm quite happy to engage with people, but they just have to accept the fact that I'm not going to engage with them from a past perspective. I'm going to engage with them with the person I've become now that I've managed to shift what I was carrying. I mean, interestingly as well, from that day, one thing that I did notice was when we'd finished, I felt like I was actually physically taller, because the odd thing is, it actually does feel like a physical weight has been lifted when I'd actually talked through and got rid of the trauma that I was carrying. I was no longer carrying it, and it actually was, it was as if I'd actually had that physical weight lifted from me. So I really did feel like I was standing taller at the end of the day. I felt like I had a spring in my step. It's an unusual thing to actually describe. Something that is a mental baggage, but it actually seemed to have physical connotations in how it was affecting me.
But it was permeating so deep into every layer of you, wasn't it, the trauma? Yeah,
I mean, it was who I was for so many years. That's the thing. I'd been carrying this around for so long, sort of almost 40 years of my life. I'd been carrying it around for. It's a really long time to actually, have something that you're living with that no one else knows about, but is shaping your life. So, it was only after I'd actually started telling people what had happened to me, and then realising that I wasn't being judged. I mean, it happened to me as a child, for God's sakes. But the problem is, you look back on things with adult eyes. You judge things, even in your own past, with your current experiences. So it's really difficult to look back on something and look at it through the eyes of the person at the time that it happened. The child who didn't have any life experience, who didn't know any better, who was being abused. And, you don't have anything else to compare it to. So you don't know whether it's the norm or not. And so only as you grow and you look back on it, you find yourself becoming more judgmental on yourself. Yeah. And thinking, well, why did I allow that to happen? Why was I abused? Why didn't I stand up for myself? So you do find yourself judging yourself, and the older you get, the more experience you have, the more you actually tend to sort of attack yourself with it. So this is why it was so refreshing for me to actually move on,
break that cycle.
Absolutely, to just to break the cycle, as you say, move away from those destructive habits and become a new person. And as I say, it's had such a remarkable impact on me. It's phenomenal. So
We spoke about your timeline, because timeline therapy is a big part of the day, isn't it? And we spoke about bringing positives into negatives. Yeah. And a lot of people find that concept quite crunchy to take on board, that there are any positives at all in something as deep and dark as what happened to you. But I know without disclosing anything that you wouldn't want me to, that actually one of the massive positives you got from that was the reassurance of who you've become and how protective you are of your children, and how the relationship you've got with them is extraordinary, isn't it? It is a very, very, it is a very strong relationship you have with your kids. And when we looked at the positives that had come out of the damage that you'd suffered, one of the positives was that, of embracing that.
Yeah, it was almost as if I'd been given sort of parenting 101, how not to be a parent and do the opposite, and then you'll be a good parent, that sort of thing, from my various experiences that I'd had. So it is, the thing is, all experiences shape your life, and you've just got to embrace who you are at the end of the day, and my experiences have made me who I am. I can't change the experiences that happen to me, but what I can do is look at change how they affect me, and that's what I did when we had our breakthrough day, is actually sever the impact that my past was having on me and processing it so that I could actually almost compartmentalize it so that it wasn't having that serious impact on my life, that I was letting it, and be able to process the trauma and then make sure that I could then move forward as a more healed and rounded person, and I could become a better person, I feel, because I'm no longer being influenced by the baggage from the past. Now, it doesn't mean it's not there, doesn't mean it hasn't impacted who I am as a person, but it's not impacting who I am as a person now. So that's the difference.
And how you think now, how you process your thinking now is entirely different, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah. And, it's I'm living my life. I no longer feel I need coping mechanisms to get through the day. One of the interesting things is that my children saw me go through some very stressful situations last year after our breakthrough day, and they were very surprised that I didn't fall back into any old patterns that I used to have for coping with stress and strain. So that was nice to get that reinforcement from them to say, wow, you really have changed. In the past, you'd have gone off and done something like, I don't know, order a massive takeaway, or one of these horrible things, or I don't know, open a bottle of wine. Or
but by yourself, it wouldn't have been.
It wouldn't have been a shared experience. No, not social at all. It wouldn't have been a shared experience at all. It would have been an insular means for me to cope with what had gone on. Whereas since our breakthrough day, where I've had stressful situations through work or through day-to-day life, my means of coping with it's been completely different. And it's been, the funny thing is, it's been far easier to cope with as well. Far easier to process, because I'm not using sort of horrible, destructive coping mechanisms. I have been able to process things, and I've been able to deal with different stressful situations in different ways. But it means that I am able to deal with it with a clear head, with focus, and it not impact my family, which has been amazing. That really has been a significant shift. And as I say, that's been fed back to me by the kids, by my wife. So again, it's almost as if they were waiting for things to sort of fall back to how they used to be, because it had been my life up until that point, and my entire children's lives. So they were used to seeing a certain behaviour from me, and they've not seen that since the breakthrough day. So it has been significant in their lives as well as mine.